Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and today I'm going to be creating with you guys a card that I put together using some materials that came in the July 2017 Simon Says Stamp card kit. This is the stamp set that came in the kit, and this can be purchased separately. So it's still available for sale now at Simon Says Stamp, and it's just a really fun beachy images and sayings, and it's really great. There also was a die that came in the kit. It does not coordinate with these stamps. It's a little bit bigger, but I just stuck it in this particular stamp pocket. But this die is also available separately and is available for purchase at Simon Says Stamp. So even if you did not get the card kit, you can still create this card if you wanted to. The design paper that we're using also came in the kit, but it also can be purchased separately, and it is from Echo Park. So this is the card that we're going to be working on today, and it's very simple to put together. It's a very simple card, kind of a little break, if you will, from my scene creating cards that I love so much, but it's a fun summary card, and I wanted to quickly show you how I made it. So the card base, as you can see, is a very beautiful pink card base that came in the kit, but again, you can buy Simon's cardstock separately. I did put a piece of inexpensive white cardstock inside to write your message if you wanted to, even though you really don't need to do that. The pink's not that dark, but I just went ahead and did it anyway. I have a piece of Bristol Smooth white cardstock that I have cut just slightly smaller than the card base, where I stamped the swimsuits, the two different swimsuits from the stamp set, colored them with my zigs, and then I have some design paper and then the sentiment that I've white heat embossed, and then I have the fun swimsuit that I cut out, and I added a whole bunch of glitter. I'm trying to get that, there we go, slightly showing up there on the camera. I used my Wink of Stella glitter pen and put it all over the swimsuit. Then I just have some fun sequins and some enamel dots from my Nuvo drops, crystal drops. So let's go ahead and just put this card together quickly. This should be a quick, relatively quick video. I'll go as quick as I can here. Put the card aside. I'm going to bring over the piece of, oh, and by the way, the card that we're going to make on camera, we were only sent one piece of design paper per design, I guess you could say. So I'm going to change the color scheme just a little bit and use a slightly different piece of design paper for the card we're going to make on camera today. It's going to have a teal turquoise background as opposed to the pink, but it's the same exact idea. So here's a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and it's cut just slightly smaller than the card base, which is an A2 size card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I've already just gone ahead and randomly stamped both of the swimsuits here, just randomly around the card base, the cardstock. I also went ahead and took some teal I keep saying teal, I'm sorry, it's more of like a turquoise beachy color cardstock, and put my design paper on top of it. And this is going to go right in the center here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and adhere this down so I know which swimsuits I need to color. I just kind of, when I did my stamping, went ahead and filled up almost the whole panel. But now I know I don't need to color all of the swimsuits that I stamped down. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some adhesive on this particular piece of design paper here, and then I'm just going to center it as best as I can on this Bristol Smooth panel here. And now I've got that taped down, and now I'm just going to go ahead and color the swimsuits, and I'm going to just use light pink, turquoise, and pink. And since I have stamped this onto Bristol Smooth cardstock, it is all ready to be colored, because you can use your Bristol Smooth cardstock, your zig markers, and a water brush. Just go light on the water when you're doing it on the Bristol Smooth, because it isn't watercolor paper, but it works perfectly still. So I'm just going to go ahead and start coloring these swimsuits. I'm using pink on this one, and we're just going to just scribble a little bit of the color down. I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm not going to worry too much about my coloring here, just to give it some shading here. We're going to let our water brush do the rest of the work, and see, even without watercolor paper, this blends beautifully with a little bit of water from the water brush. So definitely worth the investment, if you ask me. The Bristol Smooth cardstock is not very expensive. You can purchase it at you know, online at various craft stores, online stores. You can purchase it at Michael's with a coupon. It's back in the art department at Michael's, and you can also get it, of course, on Amazon or other online retailers as well. And again, it's very inexpensive. I have not had luck with other types of regular cardstock with those zigs. But of course, you're welcome to try whatever you may have at home before going out and purchasing any other type of cardstock. The zigs work perfectly in my experience with any watercolor paper and Bristol Smooth. Okay, so I'm just kind of picking some random swimsuits that I'm going to color in pink, and then we'll go in with some different colors in just a moment. So again, I'm just scribbling on a line of marker here, and then we'll use our water brush to do the rest of the work and bring that color out into the open spaces. This is very simple coloring for me today, nothing at all too difficult or, you know, super, I mean, it's not hard at all. Just very simple, not paying too much attention to it, just getting some nice shading is all we're worried about creating here. Okay, and we'll do one more in pink. We'll just do these little bottoms right here that are barely showing, and this little swimsuit top here. And then we'll call it done with the pink, and we'll move on to a light blue color in just a moment. And it's going to kind of match the cardstock just a little bit better. In the original card, I did 2 different shades of pink. I did this pink, a light pink, and an orange, I'm sorry, a yellow, to kind of match that particular color scheme with that design paper. But since this design paper is all pink, we're just gonna change it up just a little bit and do this light blue to match the cardstock here. And I'm just going to do several at one time now, since I'm just trying to, you get the idea now, I'm trying to go very quickly. And we'll just pull this color out. This is a very light blue, so I often find that I do need to go over this one twice. And I'll show you what I mean. When you're working with zigs, just like if you've ever worked with Copic markers, you can go right back over what you've scribbled down and scribble it down again. Okay, so in other words, you can go back over what you've already done to darken it up, which is a really nice feature that you don't often see with watercolor type mediums without at least drawing them first. And that's a nice feature of these zig markers, is you can go right back over top what you just did and darken it up just a bit if you would like to. So I'm just keeping going around here, just picking a few to do in this turquoise-ish or light bluish, whatever you want to call it, kind of color. Okay, let's do this one too, and then we'll call it done with this particular marker. And we'll just fill in this white space here with our water brush. And then the final color we're going to use is a light pink. So let me just finish filling these in, and we'll move on to the light pink. So we have some light pink down here and over here. And again, I'm just speeding this up a bit and just coloring these in super quick at this point here. This light pink is also one that if you weren't pressed for time, in other words, if you weren't doing this as a video and wanting your viewers to not have to sit here and watch you color for hours, you probably would go over this again, like I showed you the first time with the blue, because it is a lighter color. But for the video purposes of the video, I'm just going to leave it and move on, so we're not here all day coloring. All right, so this is what we've done so far. Very, very super simple. Now let me bring the original card back over. We want to create our embossed sentiment. And I went ahead and cut the cardstock to size here and stuck it down here in the bottom of my MISTI. Let me try to move some things out of the way so I can get this on camera here, what I'm doing. Let me close that really quick. Okay, so I went ahead and stuck my turquoise cardstock on a black card base and stuck it in the MISTI. And then I positioned my stamp exactly where I wanted it, and then closed the door of the MISTI to let the MISTI pick it up. So now this stamp is on the door of my MISTI. It's over here. And so what I'm going to do, bring it over so it's on camera here, and it's hard to see because it's a clear stamp, but it is here. I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad, which is just a watermark ink, and I'm going to ink this sentiment up really well, and I'm going to close the lid and stamp it exactly where I want it on this piece of turquoise cardstock. Make sure you press down really well, lift it up, and I'm going to do this twice because this is such a solid image, or sentiment rather. It's got very thick letters, so I'm going to ink it up twice, and this is why I wanted to use the MISTI. Sometimes with clear stamps, when they have thicker fonts or images or whatever the case may be, you're going to want to do it sometimes twice just to get a really good impression, simply because the the clear stamps don't have the cushion that our old-fashioned rubber stamps have. So sometimes you just need that extra little bit of oomph to get them to stamp perfectly. And that's where the MISTI comes in handy for sure. So now I'm going to take my, this is just happens to be, what am I trying to say? Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder, and I'm just putting it over the image, the sentiment rather, that we've stamped down. And I just realized I forgot to use my embossing buddy. I always recommend before you go over and stamp Versamark that you use an embossing buddy to get fingerprints and other types of static, anything else that Versamark ink and then the embossing powder might stick to off before you stamp it down. I neglected to do that, so I'm having to use my fingers here just a little bit to get some of this excess powder off because it's sticking to my fingers where I've touched this paper before and that kind of thing. When you use an embossing buddy, it's very helpful because it will take off all other excess things that the powder might stick to. So at the end of the day, once you get that heat tool out, all it's going to stick to is the Versamark ink. So definitely use an embossing powder. I generally use this one, which is from EK Success. You just turn it over, give it a little thump, and it'll come out here, and you can use the bristles just to smooth it around. So please do that. I neglected to do that for this video. Don't do what I did. Anyway, I'm gonna now take my heating tool, my heat gun, and let it dry this embossing powder here. I'm going to try to bring it up a little bit so hopefully you can see it in action if you've never done embossing before. It's so much fun. So I'm just heating this until it melts. And you can in person see it start to change. You can see it a little bit on the video there. Starting to change when it melts and it gets really shiny and fun. It's just a fun, of course you could just stamp this in white ink if you don't have embossing powder or things to do embossing with. You can certainly just stamp it in a white ink if you want to go for the same look, but the embossing is a bit raised and it's just kind of fun. All right, so now we have that finished. Let's bring back over our card here. So here's what we have so far. I'm going to go ahead and take my adhesive, put it on the back of this panel, and stick it to my card base. Now I also already went ahead and put a piece of inexpensive white cardstock on the inside as well to write your message. Since it's a colored note card, I decide I generally will put white on the inside unless it's a really, really, really light color. So let's just center this and stick that down. And now I'm going to grab some foam tape, and I use these huge rolls that I get off of Amazon. I go through foam tape like crazy. So I buy these large rolls because I literally go through probably a roll a month. But if you don't make as many cards as I do, you can simply use dimensionals, pop dots, whatever you have in your stash if you want to. You don't even have to raise it at all. It's completely up to you and your design. I like some dimension on my cards, but not too much so that I can't mail them. But I do like some dimension on my cards. I feel like it gives it just a little bit of extra, just a little bit of extra funness, extra oomph to the card. So now I'm just going to stick this kind of centered here on this design paper panel. All right, there we go. And that's very pretty. I really like this different color scheme from the original card too. So now I'm going to get out my little, as you can see from the original card here, I have a little swimsuit. I use that die cut to cut out the little swimsuit, and it's going to go right down here. So all I need is some dimension on kind of the left side of the swimsuit. So for this, because it is such a small space here, I am going to use just some dimensionals that I have from Stampin' Up. And these are also great as well to use. And I'm just going to put, I'm just going to put a dimensional here on the left side and just stick it here. And then we'll do the same thing with the bottom of the swimsuit. Just peel off the backing here. And sometimes these backings don't fight me and don't want to come off. There we go. And then here's the bottom of the swimsuit, like so. All right, so all that's left to do now is put some of that Wink of Stella glitter on our fun little swimsuit, and then I'll show you the Nuvo drops. I won't take your time on the video to do the sequins. That can be kind of tedious to kind of grab them and get them where they need to go. But I will show you how I use the Nuvo drops. I love these Nuvo drops. They are so fun to use and I get really great results with them. Okay, so I've just taken my Wink of Stella pen and put that over the swimsuit. Let me bring that up so you can see that hopefully. Yep, it's picking up just a little bit there. And so now I'm just going to take, in this final card, I used yellow Nuvo drops to kind of go with the color scheme here. This is a slightly different color scheme, so I'm just going to take pink. And this particular color happens to be Carnation Pink, this one's called. And let me just quickly show you how I use these. You want to, once you get the lid off, hold it exactly up and down, straight up and down. Hold it straight up and down, give it a squeeze. Sometimes when it first comes out, don't put it directly on your project at first, just to get any excess bubble. That sometimes a little bubble will come out. So now I've kind of cleared that out and it's ready to go, and I'm just putting a blob down and picking it directly straight up. You don't want to move it. You want to keep it straight up and down. And here's the third one, which I'm going to make just a little bit bigger. Now, like you can see, when you put it down, it has a little bit of a pointed top, I guess you could say, but that will dry with time. It takes, at least where I live with the humidity here and things like that, it takes a good 24 hours for it to dry completely. It'll dry in about, you know, an hour, in that you could touch it and it won't come off on your fingers. But to get that fully rounded look, and so it'll stay like an enamel dot in the mail and that sort of thing, it takes about 24 hours here before it's ready to go. So here's the card that we made, guys. Again, I would just add a couple sequins to finish this one off, and that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this super quick and fun summery card using the See You Soon stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This was just a fun, quick card that I put together, and I just wanted to show it to you. I hope you like it, and thank you guys so much for stopping by as always and for all your support. If you feel so inclined, I would love it if you would follow my, subscribe rather to my YouTube channel and give me a thumbs up if you like this video and this card. Thanks so much again, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.